Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
If you're thinking that strange things have been going on with your relationships, if you're wondering what is happening, why do I feel a little weird lately? We're going to address that, or at least attempt to address that with somebody who is an international best-selling author and speaker. She's a heart-based energy healer, intuitive. She is a Reiki master, practices heart math as a coach, teacher, speaker, author. I mean, on and on and on and on. And she's feeling the same thing I'm feeling. And I'm thinking,
very human.
She's a human. She's a human.
Very human.
And others are feeling probably the same thing right now. Becki Koon is back with us. Hey, Becki.
Hey, Steve. Yeah, we're all navigating this time that we're living in. Yeah.
So even before we got on here today, you started this conversation of weird things, dynamics of relationships, a strange energy that seems to be here now. I recently experienced it with a relationship, a business relationship that ended for apparently good reasons. Again, at the same time that we're talking about this energy, but what's intriguing me is I talked to a astrologer that I truly respect. And she said that things were going to get better around this time. Maybe a week ago, she said it would start getting better. So I'm thinking, all right, we're in a
take a breath.
Better time. And we do have a Mercury retrograde coming up on the 13th, depending on when you're watching this, December 13th. So I'm mindful of that. And sometimes a few weeks before that, things can get a little wonky. But what do you think is going on right now, Becki?
I don't know. I've been tapping in and talking to the people that I'm in connection with, right? And most of those people are very energetically sensitive, very what you would call empathic. They feel what's happening around them, but not always able to explain it or understand it. And I think this week in particular, again, I feel like I'm a broken record sometimes, Steve. These times are intense. These times are intense that we're going through. But this week in particular, it seems like there was some energy that came through that has been impacting people. Like a lot of the connections that I've made, people are tired, like they're fatigued. I crashed last night. Like I was exhausted and I crashed. And I know when I get tired and I'm that exhausted, I snore. I mean, I'm like, I'm out. And typically I'm not quite that tired. I'm a high energy person and I'm typically not like that. So this week, and then I had another event happen personally that I'm like, wow, where did that come from, Becki? Why did you say that? What happened that percolated that statement out of me, right? And with another person. So it was this moment of, okay, can we communicate and walk through this? And so I think there's things that have been happening for all of us, whether we're aware of it or not. There may be relationships that were just a little bit tried this week. Maybe there was energies that you're feeling. Maybe you're a little more tired than usual. And what I forget a lot of times is that it's not just me. And I'm in this all the time, Steve. I'm doing this energy healing work all the time. And yet I forget that sometimes what I'm feeling personally isn't always about just what's wrong with Becki, or what is it that I'm experiencing? Why is my body so tired? Maybe it's because we're picking up on that energy coming in.
Where is it coming from? Is it like an energy tsunami that's coming in? Is it at the planet alignment? And I mean that. I mean, astrologically, I'm trying to figure out where it's all coming from.
Well, I know, there were people. So the discussions this week that I've been tapping into, they were discussing, well, it's not necessarily coming from the sun. There seems to be some other energies cosmically that are, kind of hitting us and affecting us. And I'm not a scientist. I don't know all the science behind that, but I certainly feel it. And my friends who are energetically sensitive are feeling it. But this is the thing. even if you're not energetically sensitive, if you're not empathic, which I actually believe most of us are, we just are different levels.
Different levels. Yeah.
Different levels. But we're all being affected. And so things are coming up, Steve, just like you had this thing come up with you with a business relationship that, wow, all of a sudden, it's going to shift. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And part of me is not 100% surprised because this person does run hot and cold. And when she runs hot, it's like that. But this was to the extreme.
Sure.
And I feel I did everything to take care of any concerns and make it all right to the point of even sacrificing myself. But we had a relationship for almost 2.5 decades. So
yeah, sure.
I even said to her, she even used the word vendor. I'm like, vendor? I thought we were friends.
Yeah, right. Right.
And
Yeah.
no, we don't, hang together. We don't talk a lot. And I mean, that's on both of us. But, if she had concerns, communicate. It's
Right.
okay. If I told her a 5-10 minute conversation would have fixed everything. And I was making not concessions, but things to make it, all right. I'm a peacemaker. I don't like confrontation. And
Sure.
I think addressed everything that she said, but not good enough. And that's okay. I honestly, Becki, I feel better when we talk about energy that something has been released and is opening the door for something better.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
I really do.
And you just have to recognize that we're all so unique and we all experience things so differently, right? And yet similar, like connection, right? But our perceptions are our unique perceptions. And when you can step back, always when you can step back and look at it from a broader perspective, a bigger perspective, as maybe a higher awareness and spiritual perspective, it's all okay, right? It's all on track. It's all as it is going to unfold the way that it's supposed to. And it offers a level of peace when you can see it from that perspective.
Peace is the key word, because if you spoke to me 5 years ago in lots of different situations, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? What's going to happen? Oh my God. This person, we work together and she takes care of some things for me business wise. Well, now I'm like, no problem. I got it. It's all good. It's all going to work itself out. And I know it's a cliche. Things do happen for a reason. I don't know what the reason is, but part of me does in this instance where it's the opportunity for opportunity.
Right.
Because of this shift.
Well, and things are a cliche because more often than not, that's the way it is. Right.
I guess I hate to say the same old stuff, but there's no other way to describe it. There's, the universe has a plan, I believe. I think we both believe that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Sometimes we know the plan, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it reveals itself. Sometimes there's a lesson, or maybe there's always a lesson. Maybe we should say that.
Well, I think anytime something happens, a shift in maybe how you've been doing business or with someone in your life, it is an opportunity. There's always opportunity, Steve. It's just how we look at it and how we process it. And again, having a strong connection to a power greater than yourself, or an awareness of God, or whatever that is for you, right? That awareness that we're not alone. There's a soul essence and a spirit animating this body, and that it's connected to something, a wisdom greater than us. Then there's ease and there's peace in those moments when things get challenging.
So you're somebody that helps people with their energy, help them clear their energy.
Yeah.
What we're talking about here, for anybody that now, or if you watch this or listen to this in the future and experience just things that are off, and you think it may be everything is energy. You think it could be cleared. That's something that can be impactful when you work with somebody.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I had a client come in this week. I'd seen her earlier this year, and she was in a lot of angst because she was she was going to be going through a divorce, separation, relationship change. And she came in and her body was just stressed. Let's just say stressed. And I could feel it. And we worked with, trying to release what was stuck to help her move through and get clarity about what she needed to do going forward. I saw her again this week, and things are moving forward. She's still not, divorced. It's coming, but things have moved forward. And her energy was interesting because I have a little space where I have my Reiki table and I have people come in. And before I even got connected with her, I was just in the space with her. The energy was just, it was just flowing. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm not even touching you or connected. And the energies are going. I said, there's something that you have done that has cleared. And it's like the energy just keeps wanting to flow through you. So I went down to her feet and I was holding her feet. And I was just like, wow, okay, you've done some work. You've done some shifting and changing. I feel it. Her literally, her energy field was just ready to do what it needed to do to help her. And I just was there facilitating. It was amazing. So yeah, we hold on to stuff, we release it, we move through it. It's this beautiful dance, Steve, that we get to do. And yet it's hard when it's relationships. It's hard when it's whether it's business or personal or friendship or family, it doesn't matter. The relationships are the ones that probably challenge us to grow and to evolve the most.
I agree with that because there's so much invested in the relationship, right? And it's close and connected to you. I want to go back to the person that you were working with regarding the feet. What was going on there and why?
Well, I just kept getting this feeling that I needed to help kind of ground the energy. And by grounding, I just meant I went down and I held her feet and I just allowed my body to just kind of like go to that space of meditation and just say, okay, we're just gonna allow this energy to settle. We're gonna allow this energy to settle and ground. And so when I'm grounding, a lot of times I'm visualizing something moving down into the earth, right? And I'm grounding the body into this physical reality. And so, but truthfully, during the whole session, she was moving energy, Steve. It was moving through her. It was releasing. It was, and it was because she had stepped into another field of awareness within herself. Her life is moving forward. Her energies were releasing and moving forward. And there was only one area on her body that we still needed to work with, and that was her heart and her heart chakra area. Because obviously, she has children. They're trying to figure out how they're going to navigate life going forward.
And she probably has a major block there as well.
Yeah,
like
she did.
I call it the power window. So it's like when you're blocked, it's like window goes up. And then, maybe like be comfortable with somebody, comes down a little bit, sometimes just back up again. She probably has it's all the way up because of this whole situation. And we don't know the full situation, but it's ending of a major relationship, and there's a lot of uncertainty that comes along with that as well. Who knows? Sure. I don't know if if it's a smooth situation in her divorce or what. Either way,
I think all of them have their moments. It's not horrible, but it's still it's shifting and changing, and houses and property and all that kind of stuff to deal with. The thing that I think was really key for her session this week was that we were able to get to that place of, in this now moment, everything's okay. In this now moment, everything's okay. And kept bringing us back. We kept getting back to that space of trying not to project, because we don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future. We have an idea and we can plan, but then let it go and let a higher wisdom take the reins, and be in the now moment, because in the now moment, that's really where we live. That's where we exist, in this now moment. And there's a level of peace that you can attain then when you just breathe into that now moment, and it's all going to be,
Why is it so hard to live in the moment? And I'm speaking from, experience of realizing. I'm looking here because there was a survey that just came out, and I wanted to share. It's about exactly what we're talking about in terms of living in the moment. I'm probably not going to find it in time, but I just read it, and it's how many people think that they're living in the moment, and it's actually a low number.
Yeah.
And a real survey, literally within the last day. But why is it so hard to live in the moment?
I think
I
it's
found
just
it. I found it. I'm going to share it with you, and then let's go in.
Good.
12% of people say they always feel like they're living in the moment. 2% of us say that we never live in the moment, but only 12 of us feel like we're living in the moment. By the way, real survey. This is from yougov.com. And okay, so here's the full, just found the full, and it's a graph. So here we go.
Okay.
12% of us feel like we're always living in the moment. 35% feel usually, 36% sometimes, 10% rarely, 2% never, 6% not sure.
Okay. Wow.
Right?
Right.
And if I had to answer that myself, being someone who 3 years ago was called out by somebody I recently met, so she had a fresh view.
Yeah, sure.
She said, "Why don't you ever live in the moment?" And I didn't even know what she was talking about. So
right. I know,
that,
right.
that would account for some of these people. But even now, being mindful of that, I would say that I sometimes live in the moment. I don't always live in the moment.
Yeah, no, we don't. I mean, I don't. And
Can you?
This works all the time, Steve.
Is it possible to always live in the moment? I don't know.
I don't know, because we are flavored by our life experience, right? It's part of kind of the soup of who we are. Let's say, we're in this, consciousness, we're in this body, in this energy field, and we have all of our past experiences that influence our thought process and our decisions. And then we have future potentials that we also, want to see or seek or are aware of. A lot of times people are like on the negative side of things. They're remembering, they've got trauma, and they're expecting, negativity or trauma in the future. So I think it's because we are influenced by all of that. So to stay in the present moment is a practice. It's something that we work towards. And breathing in, like, instead of being a shallow breather, breathing into this beautiful body, and and being aware of our breath brings us back to this body in this moment. And we find little snippets of it. It's not always easy to stay in that. And I don't think like I said, unless you're a monk on some hill somewhere and you're meditating and you're not influenced by life around you. I think it is a challenge, Steve. And yet, the more that we find moments where we just go, okay, right now, it's all good. The more that we do that, the easier it is to get out of that repetitive thinking, or this is what happened to me in the past, this is what's going to happen again, kind of.
The breathing thing does work, and I forget to do it. Yes, I know it's important, but to get back to center, like even as you were speaking, I took a deep breath as I'm processing what you're saying, and I'm like, because every day we have things going on, and I find myself too in the moment, but then bouncing in my mind, like, oh, but then there's that. Then no, come back. Like a kid, like you're grabbing their arm. No, come back here. And I feel that happening many times during the day. But when you take that deep breath, and like you said, give your body that what is it, 15 seconds?
Yeah, yeah,
It's like the universe reels you back in to this
yeah.
slice of time right here where it's all
Well,
good.
you literally reset your physiology too. You reset those chemical responses that happen in the body when you can do that. And so when the world is crazy around us and all of a sudden you find yourself saying things out of the blue that you regret saying, right? Um, can you just, oh wow, okay, there's more going on than what I realize.
Exactly.
And yeah, and so and in our relationships, that just seems to be where um we get to practice.
I guess. But it's not always fun. That's the problem. But I guess life isn't fun because if it was all one, we're all happy, everything's great, joy, joy, joy. You wouldn't even know what that is unless you experience the other side of it.
Yeah,
Sorrow, sadness,
yeah,
frustration, all of those things right there.
yeah.
Uh,
So I work with a lot of people, Steve, who've been through a lot of trauma. And what I find when I'm working with them is that, so I'm sensing spirit around them. I'm sensing guides or angels or God. I'm Jesus. I'm sensing the presence of those energies. And sometimes it's those people that have been through the most, have been through the biggest challenges, that can carry the biggest awareness of life and the biggest light, and to help them see that if, despite everything, despite the challenges they've lived and are experiencing, they carry that connection. So I think a lot of times, we think, those things that have brought us, made it hard and brought us down, um, and yet are not fun. We don't like it. And yet that can be the very thing that catapults you into an awareness and an understanding and a connection to something greater.
you need to sometimes get shaken up
Yeah.
to change it up.
Yeah. Well, that's why you hear people say that illness was the greatest gift that came to me, because it made me reassess my life.
Didn't you say that?
I did say that. Cancer was a huge gift in me taking an assessment and a look at life in a different way. Yeah.
Mm.
And making choices and stepping into life and vitality and gratitude. So an appreciation and a gratitude for life, even in the challenging moments. Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if those moments cause you to take inventory of your life.
Yeah.
Like you're in the stock room of your life. Wow, I
Yeah.
got some of that. Don't have enough of that though. I got to get more of that. Yeah, that could be relationships. I need some better relationships. I've got, enough of that, and as you take inventory, but you don't do that unless you're forced to. Usually.
Well, when it's going easy, when it's going smooth, Steve, what do? We just are enjoying life. We're not, it's in the challenging moments, or it's in those things that happen that kind of catch us off guard, maybe, that we stop and we maybe take a look. We maybe assess something differently.
Yeah.
So,
It's great
and
when
it's
you I'm
part
sorry.
of life. It's not gonna. This is a thing that I like to share with people, is that they have the strength to get through. Like, we're amazing as humans. We are amazing in that we have the ability to walk through huge challenge and find connection and find gratitude and find life force vitality and connection to God. We have that in every moment by being human, by being who we are. So
Why don't we remember that though? Like we can have that conversation now, and then in an hour, life happens, things happen
we're going to
around
get in
you.
the thick of living life, and it's going to go, what's wrong with this?
Right. Right. Well, I think it's the breathing thing. I honestly do. Now that you said it and reinforced it, because that blocks everything out. Somehow magically, I don't know how it does it, but when you take that time to take that breath, 2, maybe 3,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, All right. Well, that's what's going on here.
Mhm.
I'm looking at that through a different lens.
Yeah.
It's like a reset button.
It's like a reset button. Yes.
Hmm.
And it's a reset button not only for us mentally, but emotionally and physically and spiritually. Like it hits all areas of our life when we give ourselves just that moment to breathe, that reprieve.
You know, it
And it can be done in the moment of heated stuff, right? Just a moment. Just give yourself a moment. Mm-hmm.
when I was a kid, my dad gave me that advice. I didn't have a great relationship with him, didn't see
Mm-hmm.
him that often. My parents got divorced when I was very young, but he would say two things. And I don't think he was very spiritual, but what do I know?
Yeah.
um, he loved to live life, but
Mm-hmm.
he said, learn to read and breathe. And
Wow.
I forget it until we talk about it. It's like, there's a reason he said that. And that's
Yeah.
the two things he left me with.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
he passed when I was 21. So
Wow.
I remember being in the car as a kid and maybe being anxious or whatever it might be. And he said, breathe, take a deep breath,
Mm-hmm.
breathe. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
never forgot it. And like we
Yeah.
said, when we first started today, things happen for a reason. I think that he was telling me something for a reason because it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like it's any new kind of
I know.
information, right? So, so I ended up at one point after my husband passed, I saw a Sanskrit symbol for breathe, for breath. I was so moved by the beauty of the symbol that I decided to get a tattoo, right? I got a tattoo.
Hmm.
Because to me, it was very symbolic of, my children. I held them when they took their first breath. My husband, I held him when he took his last breath. And it's what we do every moment in between, from birth to death, it's what we do. We breathe. And I work with clients, and I'm always doing breath work, right? And it's about connecting here, that breath. And so Jack, after he passed, he's given me information, and one of the things that he said, I wrote about it in my book, breath is key to life. Well, that's kind of a no-brainer, but it's even more than that. Breath is key.
You can go for a period of time without water. You can go for a period of time without food. You can
Mm-hmm.
go for a period of time without love, but not
Yeah.
without the breath. And by the
Yeah.
way, I forgot, and I just randomly brought my dad up. His name was Jack.
Jack. Okay, so see, they both knew breath was.
Can't even make that up. and yeah, his legal name was John. No, he was known as Jack.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Weird. Anyway, um, how do we find you? Your website, if this is resonating, somebody
Yeah.
needs some direction or they're dealing with this mucky energy that's going on right now.
Yeah. You go to my website, BeckiKoon.com, BeckiKoon.com.
Super simple to remember. And that's the same thing with breathing and all of this. If you want to learn about the energy that we harness within and how we can use it to our advantage too, just reach out. Becki, you're fantastic.
Thank you, Steve. It's been fun today.
Yeah, always great talking. And
Yeah.
let's hope, give us 2 days of better energy. Whatever's going on, universe, I'm putting it
Get
out
out
into the
there.
universe. Right?
Let's work on that, okay?
Yeah, on that. All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.